the Hammer of Glory is called the Hog. At some point when the Hog was created, part of it was to be an Olympic torch, where instead of going from country to country over the course of a year, it went from bar to bar over the course of minutes.
Yeah.
And originally, it was always a non-automated vessel of transport. So it
had to be like a bicycle or something.
It had to be some sort of a creative mind.
Yeah.
I'm fairly confident it was like pogo sticked from one place to another.
It's a very Philly thing to do. Just
like
duct tape some shit together.
The roller girl, like the roller
Yeah.
derby girls were like from one bar to another.
All right, so welcome back to BrewedAt Podcast. I'm your host, Richie Tevlin, joined as always by Evan Blum. And today we have 2-for-1 special. We have Richard Colli, owner of Varga Bar and executive director, right? Head of Philly Beer Week. And before we get started, our guest, Rich was kind enough to ice our dear friend Evan today.
Yeah.
So let's start this off.
It's been about 5 years at least. So.
Don't worry, no one's watching you.
Let me say, I did put tinfoil on top. It was deceiving intentionally. Anyone who knows me or Varga understands where I was coming from.
Well, I feel indoctrinated, so cheers.
Cheers.
Let's go.
I'll take a sip.
Awesome, yeah. Let's get this started.
I'll take just a sip.
Are you thirsty, Evan?
Seems like you've done this before.
Nice, congrats.
And they don't even have the regular. That is the orange or whatever.
That just tastes like orange juice, I'm being honest.
You're not thirsty anymore.
That's what they serve in Philadelphia public schools, I hear. Every kid gets iced, but listen, they touched it first.
Awesome. So, I mean, like we were saying, like you're here as, I guess, representing Philly Beer Week. We want to kind of hit on that the most, but it is like we could have had you on just as Rich from Varga Bar and then also Philly Beer Week. So could you give us kind of an introduction before we get into Philly Beer Week, like who you are as who you are, how you became the owner of Varga Bar, and kind of like now, how are you now running Philly Beer Week?
So I was in a poker game. No.
I was like, wait, this just got very interesting.
The deed was on the table. No, so I started working at Varga we're about to celebrate our 15th anniversary.
Cool. And if you're not aware, Varga Beer Bar in Center City, corner
10th and Spruce.
Keystone Bar in Center City, Philadelphia.
So we opened 15 years ago. I started working a couple weeks after it opened.
Cool.
And just as I started working, just took on a little more responsibility, and then was kind of running the place for the gentleman who owned it, who I still love. And then an opportunity came up right before the pandemic. Like, pandemic wasn't a word yet that we all knew.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna sell Varga, and I'd love to sell it to you.
Keep it in the family.
To you.
Yeah.
You've done as much work as anyone on this place." And I was like, hell yeah. Like, I don't care. Like, in my brain, I was like, no amount of debt, doesn't matter, I'm doing it. I don't care what was going on. Absolutely. Thank you for, asking. And then I was like, so what do I do?
Yeah, so how does this work?
Yeah, and he's like, all right, there's a, first thing was like, there's a purchaser's agreement. And it's like, yeah, cool. Just give it to me and I'll sign it. He's like, no, you do it.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I have to submit. Like, so it was a lot of not knowing anything about anything. So the process took a little longer than it probably should have. And then by that time, a global pandemic was in the process.
Yeah, and he's just like, here, nice, take this.
Well, nothing was agreed to, which was unfortunate, because I would have still stuck with it. I did. I actually continued with it. The problem was, there's a bank that has to be the one to be like, we will give you this.
Yes.
So, pandemic was happening, and they didn't pull out. They just said, we're just not sure what's going on. We need to kind of configure what the offer is on our end. And it was a lot of going through the process again, and I completely understand all parties involved. But at one point, it was like, okay, the bank is only giving me this. Now we're in a global pandemic. Like, I mean, this is not a negotiating tactic. This is
Yeah.
like, I don't have, like, they're the ones with the money. Yell at them. Like,
Yeah.
tell them to give me more money. So it actually went through in August of 2020.
Okay.
So we're like, outside seating, not really allowed to do a bunch of stuff. But also,
Yeah, all that experience you had running the bar and why you were the perfect person to take over, throw it out the window.
well, but also in my brain, I was like, this is just a little bit of a hurdle in all the hurdles of
Just one of
everything
those
happening in life, business, work. Maybe didn't know what a hurdle it was, but yeah, I mean, I looked at it as like solidifying kind of my future and everyone who was committed to me through the time that I wasn't the owner but still was running the place, and kind of solidifying their future as well. So I would have, it wouldn't have mattered what the bank said or what the agreement was.
Yeah, you're driving this
I would
forward.
have agreed to it, unless you're my bank person. Like, just kidding. Beren, I'm just joking. Like, but I would have done anything because it's what I poured my heart into for a long time, and being a part of it wasn't just a job. It was like what I love.
For sure, it's your life.
So it was just kind of easy to get into it, and then like I said, it was a ton of hurdles, and we're still going through some. Like, it is what it is. I mean, before pandemic was one thing, and then people's routines changed after the pandemic. People's times of work changed. Everything changed, and we're still kind of going through some of that. Where it's, whether it's people not commuting to work on certain days, or whether it's people having jobs that are more at home focused. I mean, a lot of things changed, and things became more expensive, whether it's food, whether it's any type of alcohol. Like, the things that make things cost more money, so things cost more money. So like that also became a thing. I mean, we're at a point where we're all doing whatever we can do because we do what we like, love, or tolerate with, whatever that time, like, whatever that frame is for people. Like, I love it, and that's kind of.
Yeah, I mean,
I kind of went off on a tangent there.
I understand. Like, you are very much like service industry, restaurant. That's your base. That's everything they've come like fast paced industry you talk about. Like, that's just like the most fast paced changing. So restaurants during this time. So I'm sure exciting probably isn't the right word for it, but
it's not the wrong word.
Yeah,
there's probably a better word out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, totally. Yep.
Yeah. So now you own Varga Bar, and I guess. You can talk on kind of like how you came up beer-wise in Philadelphia, but now you are the director of Philly Beer Week.
I will say director is a weird word.
Okay.
And I'll say this because in the past we had a board, we had an executive director, which was a paid position. People who wanted to participate in Philly Beer Week, you paid a small fee. Maybe they didn't think it was that small, but there was a fee attached to it that encapsulated some of the things that the director would do, and some of the things that were offered. But what I like to think I do now currently, I was on the board before the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
And helping the board out prior to that. Actually, when the vote came up for who was going to get a seat that was open.
Yeah.
And that's how I got my seat. When I went into the kind of meeting with everyone who was on the board, and you kind of give what your spiel is, and like you say why you're good for it. They thought I was kidding, and I said, do not vote for me. I'm already doing stuff with you guys. I'll also help. I'll never, this is what I do. I love my bar that I work at. I love craft beer. Vote someone else on.
Yeah,
let me just be an extra set
of
of hands. I feel like everyone thought that was like a tactic. It wasn't.
You're like George Washington.
I was like, I'm already here. Get somebody else. Then you get two people. But yeah, so that when the pandemic hit, the board dissolved because we couldn't pay an executive director. We didn't have money coming in. Like I said, everyone's routine changed. Everything changed. I was one of the people tasked with when the dissolve was happening. We had a bunch of different things to deal with, one of which was marketing. And me and someone else were like, we'll take over the Instagram, Facebook, like we'll do that. That was
Yeah.
one of the things that I was very adamant, like, yeah, hell yeah, I'll jump in on that.
Yeah.
Because the social media aspect of anything, even 3 years ago, whenever, there's so much on the internet. And like just seeing like, well, this is where everything is. And email's not going to cut anything. It's like we put one thing on and 2,000 people see it.
Yeah.
And I send an email to 2,000 people and I get 4 responses. Like,
Yeah.
So it's like, more people see things. And so that was kind of an easy jump off to kind of segue while we were figuring out what was going to happen with Philly Beer Week, or Philly Loves Beer, which is the organization that, runs Philly Beer Week.
Yeah.
And then I quickly realized, one, I don't know what I'm doing. And two, we don't have funds to do some of the things that we were capable of doing prior.
Yeah.
So I realized immediately, this is kind of
It's evolved. I mean, people realize that Philly Beer Week has evolved over the years.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, a bunch of things have changed. I mean, when we first started, I think this is our 16th year.
Yeah.
When we first started, and I mean, there was a point where we were the biggest, we were the first, we were, dare I say, the best beer week in the country. And
I mean, there's a reason people consider Philly one of the best beer cities. I mean, Philly Beer Week was that strong because there was the beer culture there, but Philly Beer Week is a huge portion of that.
And we were lucky. I mean, for a bunch of years, we had people like Rob Todd of Allagash and Sam Calgione
Not
from
Philadelphia
Dogfish Head. Like
breweries
they're
coming
in and they're like, we need to be here. We need to be part of this.
Yeah.
And I think, like I said, the pandemic switched routines up, and I feel like that was kind of a position where like some of the breweries in the rest of the country that are just big, badass breweries who had been part of Philly Beer Week a bunch, I think they realized we've been doing Philly Beer Week every year, and we need to spread our love out other places. So I mean, we kind of went through this little period where we're still getting this awesome beer to buy as a bar and to see on draft other places or cans or bottles. But I think there was a little bit of a dip for events because these baller beer people weren't like, we're not going to Philly. It was like, we need to go to Portland. We need to go to New York City.
Yeah, instead
we need to
of
go,
putting all their eggs into the Philly Beer Week Fest, they're sprinkling it out everywhere.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, part of it was very easy. We consume a lot of alcohol here. So, like, when you look at numbers, you're just like,
yeah, we're doing a lot of business
go to
here.
Philly. Yeah, we got to go to Philly. Because if we lose that number, then,
Yeah.
I mean, we can't lose that number.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely been a shift in a lot of things in the past couple of years. But, I mean, one thing that has never changed is this area loves craft beer.
Yeah.
And I think that whether it's in front of the person who is responsible for brewing it, or if it's in front of the person who's responsible for pouring it to you at that bar, people still want those beers. Mm-hmm. And craft beer is never going to die. Okay. I'll asterisk that.
Never
hopefully never going to die.
Yeah, it's formed this 18 to 20% of the market where it's here to stay as part of American culture.
I mean, I think it was last year. I'm not 100% positive. So there was a news article about how craft beer was down across the country.
Yeah. But
a local news article kind of piggybacked off it and was like, not around here.
Yeah.
It's like, I know that with the inception of a lot of things, whether it's non-alcoholic beer or seltzers, RTD, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, everything takes a hit because there's 100% pie, and it's got to go somewhere if it's going from somewhere. Yeah. And but the piggyback article was basically like, yeah, it's not in Philly though. Like, this ain't the place that it's going bad. Yeah. Excuse me. So it's interesting at a point, but also very rejuvenating to like kind of see these things that are quantifying the country about something that I'm so passionate about, which is craft beer, and seeing, not here, man, like we're doing it. Yeah. So it's one of those things that allows the conscious thought to be like, yo, we're still about it. We're still doing it. We're still killing it here.
Yeah, I think it was interesting what you said about like these outside breweries, like these big people like Rob Todd would come in and like spend all these dollars putting on these events, and like the Philly Beer Week has changed where like it used to be like these huge like the kickoff event and all these other things where like a lot of money was put into it. Like that's money affects everything. It's like drives everything.
Money well spent then, yeah.
So, the Philly craft beer scene for the last 15 years, like Philly has been a beer city, but there weren't a ton of craft breweries in the city of Philadelphia. I think in the last 5 to 10 years, that's kind of changed a little bit. So maybe it's just like the events now are more localized. I don't know. I mean, you probably see it like the different types of events that are coming out of.
Yeah, I mean,
Philly
I think the whole landscape changed.
Yeah.
So we're still in that change
evolving.
currently. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. From the large regionals driving everybody to now it's the smaller people.
Yeah, I mean, we could rattle off a ton of names of local breweries that are absolutely crushing it and changing that landscape as well.
Yeah.
You have someone like Human Robot. We're talking
Doesn't
how many years ago didn't exist.
Yeah.
I mean, I might have been brewing. No, I might have been watching Jake brew at his house, and like tasked with like making sure it didn't boil over. It boiled over. I was like, I was on the phone. I didn't care. Like I was just like, huh? Oh, and now look what he's doing.
Yeah, crazy.
I think that we have such great local breweries that at some point, I don't want to say Philly Beer Week changed, but at one point it was really cool to see so many breweries like in from out of town, and that's awesome because we don't have access to those people. And I think the beer in Philly has upgraded immensely.
I think it's a lot better.
Yeah, immensely. Where people think like, well, I mean, Beer Week, yeah, that's cool, but like we have such great beer here. And it's like, we do. That's not even a question, and I'll never go back against that.
Yeah.
But it's still cool to have people from anywhere else in the country.
No, 100%.
The world,
like, some of these people,
in.
it's not just like these breweries are coming in. Like, who's the guy from? Who are the people that you're saying that were coming in? It's like there's
Rob
people,
Todd from Allagash.
Yeah, Rob
Sam. Like those are just the big ones that are easy to say.
Sam, these people are like they're almost celebrities.
Beer celebrities, for sure.
Beer celebrities.
100%.
It's a lot different like when those people come around than just not to say I hate like shitting on salespeople, but like it's different when like a salesperson is like throwing an event versus Rob Todd is throwing an event.
Well, it's 100%, and especially like when we talk about local breweries, it's like those people who are our celebrities are very accessible.
Yeah.
So it's not the biggest deal. It's not a big deal per se to have them at an event because you can go to their brewery and you can chat with them.
Yeah.
Like Tom Kehoe from Yards. I think they just celebrated 30 years.
That dude has to have a clone. He's everywhere.
Like, my God. Like, you run into him and he's such a jovial dude talking about beer and any question you have and whatever. And it's like, when we say for a Beer Week event, hey, Tom's going to be at Varga, it's like, all right, well, I mean, I've talked to him. I hung out with him. It's not a bad thing. It's just our local celebrities, as I'll say, are so accessible to people.
Yeah.
It's fantastic in a great way.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the past couple of years I think we might have missed out on is some of those other non-local celebrities coming into the city and being accessible to people. It's a fantastic time of the year. We always do the Friday after Memorial Day weekend is the kickoff weekend, and we have the Hammer of Glory, which lives at Standard Tap because William from Standard Tap.
Okay.
William from Standard Tap and Scotes, who used to own the Gray Lodge and currently is the proprietor of Lucky Cat Brewing.
Cool.
Those two gentlemen share a birthday. And I'm sure in a dead sober state, they came up with an idea to have a giant hammer as an Olympic torch, we'll say, of Philly Beer Week.
And if you're in the Philly beer scene, at some point you've either held this thing or seen somebody just run down the street in their underwear or something holding it. It's like...
For the longest time. I mean, so
Beer
Week started 2009. 2008.
Okay. Yep.
At some point, when the Hammer of Glory is called the Hog, at some point when the Hog was created, part of it was to be an Olympic torch, where instead of going from country to country over the course of a year, it went from bar to bar over the course of minutes.
Yeah.
And originally, it was always a I don't know how it was worded, non-automated vessel of transport. So it had
to be like a bicycle or
it
something.
had to be some sort of a creative mind.
Yeah.
I'm fairly confident it was like pogo sticked from one place to another.
And it's a very Philly thing to do. Just
the
duct tape some shit together.
The roller girl, like the roller
Yeah.
derby girls were like from one bar to another.
That's funny.
You know, and at this point, it's just get it to like have it at your place, get a couple pictures, you have people there, get it to the next place, and it's kind of the relay that kicks off Philly Beer Week.
And what I mean, is it still like this where it comes in and they tap the cash? Do they still do that?
We will.
Okay.
So
Real quick,
yeah.
how does it get from certain places? Because I'm pretty sure I saw it at like Warwick Farm one time.
Well,
Doing like work or
Maybe not doing work, but the actual hog. Like
oh.
well, now they drive it.
now they drive it.
Yeah.
Well,
I think some
I don't want to
places-
say how it did or didn't get there. Maybe that's his part-time job that we don't know that the Hammer of Glory does when it's not hanging up at Standard Tap. I don't know. Maybe it's weekends. I don't know.
We'll leave it to a mystery.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the symbol of the hog is what kind of depicts Philly Beer Week. So we try and get it as many places as we can for certain events. Over the course of years, it's been used as the one that taps the keg. We used to do an opening tap that a bunch of breweries were going to be at, and we could eventually get it there somehow, and that's what was used as this giant hammer to tap the cask.
Yeah, I went in 2013 when it was at the kickoff event was at the Armory, and
Perfect place for the Hammer of Glory.
definitely. And these people came in riding a chariot with like underwear on their head, and then just like tapped this cask, and it was.
They
just,
were also
like,
wearing underwear on their bodies.
Yes, it was. I don't know. It was a sight to see, and I was like, I mean, it was literally my 21st birthday. That was like my first kind of jump into craft beer, and
You're
it
like,
was a
"Holy
sight to
shit,
see.
I'm
Yeah,
in. I'm in. I don't know what's going on here, but I am in.
yeah, it was crazy. But I guess it is this kind of the symbol of what you guys.
And it at this point, so this year we're going to have a kickoff event. It's not
Okay.
necessarily an opening tap because
Yeah.
we're still taking baby steps at like kind of re-engineering what Philly Beer Week is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always been awesome craft beer events at breweries and bars.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's always going to be what it is. But yeah, so we're doing a kickoff event this year.
Where's that at?
Attic Brewery.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome,
Yeah.
Awesome.
So the second to last stop is going to be Varga.
cool.
I know a guy who works there. And we're going to bus some people to Attic. And also it's 2 stops off of the Jefferson subway. So it's close whether you're taking public transportation. We'll also have a couple buses kind of just bringing people
Yeah.
to a kickoff event because, last year Attic was supposed to host. They did. They hosted an event with I think it was almost all of the breweries from Philadelphia.
Cool.
Yeah, it would have been cool. The day that it was supposed to occur, a bunch of events got changed and canceled because that smoke that was coming down from Canada.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So, like, the air quality
Yeah, the sky was
an
orange.
advisory. And it's like, I mean, I hate the Blue Jays and Toronto, and now I just hate Canada at all. It was 1993 when I was a kid. Sidebar. 1993, Philadelphia Phillies lose to the Toronto Blue Jays in like one of the most iconic Major League Baseball moments. And this was years ago, and also has nothing to do with craft beer, but the Blue Jays were coming back into Philadelphia. So I wanted to make a cocktail that I can curse, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. It was going to be called Fuck You, Joe Carter. And so there's a cocktail called the Toronto. And I was like, I'm taking this recipe. I'm going to spin it on my own. And I'm going to call it Fuck You, Joe Carter. And I made the drink, and I was like, I like this. And I don't want it for baseball season. I want it for all seasons.
Yeah.
So I changed it. I Googled Toronto. There's like an area of Toronto called the Golden Horseshoe. So the drink is called the Golden Horseshoe. It's a great drink. It's got rye whiskey, honey syrup, orange bitters, and Fernet. So it's a little bitter, and it's real strong.
Nice.
And every time I stir that drink, it's still on the menu.
Just
every
like
time I
everybody,
serve that drink,
a
I
little
go,
bit bitter.
fuck you, Joe Carter. And usually when someone orders it, I say, oh, are you a baseball fan? It depends on whether they say yes or no, or I explain, or I just make them the drink.
Yeah.
How did that start?
The kickoff event.
Oh,
at
Canadian
Attic.
Fire. Yeah,
Yes.
sorry. So and as the person who kind of is tasked with running Philly Loves Beer, I honestly feel like at this point, I am a marketing tool for craft breweries and craft beer bars where I'll share a bunch of things, try and kind of promote anything going on in Philadelphia.
Dock Street.
But yeah, I saw that last year, Attic was doing that event, and it didn't really pan out the way they wanted. I'm sure it did in the long run. They rescheduled and whatnot, but I just thought it was awesome that they kind of took the initiative with a group of those guys, all the breweries in town, and it was going to be at their spot and kind of use their space. So I thought, what better place to actually do a big kickoff event than the people who were looking for a cool, real, awesome Philly beer, kind of event. So
and Attic is. I think they're actually about to expand. They're
they're doing great things.
They open up. Germantown's an awesome place.
Yeah.
It's all on the rise. So what exactly is it this year? It's just kind of a.
You'll have to wait like everyone else. We will release
right.
details soon.
Okay, all right.
But yeah, it was. We were looking just somewhere that it's got space to house people.
Yep.
Have a good time.
Lots of parking.
Yep. And really kind of just focus on the beliefs of what I think it should be. It's Philly Loves Beer, Philly Beer Week. All the craft beer bars and all the breweries should be inclusive and want everything that's possible for everyone and be accepted to everything that's happening. And they're one of the best.
Yeah.
In a sea of really good, they're great.
Yeah, they're standing out. They're of all the breweries that have been opening up, in the last 5-10 years in Philly, like they're one of the shining stars. They're doing the right things.
And I feel
they
bad.
just won a bunch of awards at the Great American Beer Bash, right?
So I used to go to the Great American Beer Festival every year, and it was always awesome to hear anyone within a small shot of where I lived.
Yeah.
And then it's really cool to see the same breweries winning again, because I know it's not the end all. There's still great breweries making great beer. Yeah, I know. I just did that, and I was like, damn it. There's still great breweries, making great beer, and I don't think a medal tells them they are doing a great job or not.
Sure.
But it is cool when someone wins it, especially around here, that we get to
you already know they're doing well, but it's nice to see that compared to everybody else,
national or global recognition.
Yeah.
Sure.
What I already thought is true.
Sick of your POS system being a POS? POS Specialists, powered by Heartland, have been the experts in cutting-edge POS technology for over 20 years. But they're not scriptwriters, so they let AI write their script. Thirsty for a delicious deal? Feast your eyes on our tastefully crafted point-of-sale system. From order up to cash out, this POS is the coriander spice your brewery needs. It'll have you saying, Prost. Yikes. See? That's why they have a 24/7 live phone support, not chatbots. Their experienced project managers will program your POS, train your staff, so you can just focus on the beer and not worry about the AI. Ask about their free processing options, handhelds, and online ordering. Email Kevin at POSSpecialists.com. Mention BrewedAt and get $500 off your install. Email Kevin at POSSpecialists.com.
It's you come from interesting, to swing back to Varga for a little bit. You come from an interesting perspective where a lot of people that we have on are just pushing their own thing, or distributors kind of selling everybody. You have a selective beer list. You do have a great beer selection there, and you're seeing all these things kind of funnel through. And you're seeing the sales at point of sale. These people where they have a selection, they can choose anything that they want. They're choosing. You're obviously pushing it, so it's making a difference.
It's awesome. I love that aspect of my job where I get to pick what I want out of this sea of awesome.
And what you want to push is the craft beer, and you're running a successful business. So what you're pushing and what
I
you
don't
want
care
to
about
push.
that part. I love ordering.
Right.
I love ordering beer more than anything is my job. And then my other persona has to figure out how to deal with what I just did.
Yeah.
So we do all American craft. We've peppered in some here and there that are not so much. They're not American beer. But
Have you seen your list in the last 8 years, kind of the same way that you see Philly Beer Week change, where it's like it kind of was some outside breweries that you're pushing, and now it's more localized?
We've always tried to push local because those are the people. So I will say this: I don't mean local as in people who are
in Philadelphia.
I mean when I say local in my Varga hat.
Yeah.
It's breweries local to us. It's brewery reps who live in Philadelphia who rep anywhere else in the country. It's people that we see every day. It's the people who come and hang out and have
that
a
make
beer.
the Philadelphia beer culture.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, like, just because someone's brewery that they're working for isn't, within a couple 100 miles of here or like around us, doesn't mean that they don't do just as much for this whole thing than someone else.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the bigger things for me is how does this affect beer, but also how does it affect the local beer? And I don't mean local as, the brewery that's across the street or around the corner. I wish there was one across the street, but there's so many people who actually represent beer that has no proximity to us in general, and they're still just as important as the brewery that's crushing it 2 miles away from us.
Yeah.
I think that's the perspective of beer that I think is a little different for a lot of people. I can't tell other people how to think. Sometimes it's looked at as maybe
it's a backwards way to look at it, because like you want your small local brewery to be successful, but then when someone does become successful and like they're too large, then now they become uncool. Like, it's like these large regional breweries that are still doing the right thing, like their sales reps are out there like representing the brewery that's far away, but they're living in that environment and pushing it and like living that brand. It's like, how are you supposed to take that away from that beer that's not technically local to you?
I mean, it's also cool because as they get bigger, they have more staff that also goes out and also drinks craft beer and also can come to your place and also can hang out and also can talk about how good you are and also go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I totally understand how some places look at, we helped you get this big and now you're a competition.
For sure.
To each their own. Everyone's entitled to whatever they think. I look at it more like I just said. It's the people that are in our environment are the people that are the ones that are drinking craft beer and pushing craft beer and speaking craft beer, which is kind of what we're all trying to do. I mean, we have great food. That is, I hate, like, it's a secondary thought. It's not a secondary thought. Our chef is awesome.
I want to hear about the food bank.
Shout out to Mason.
No, so I went there last week and we were sitting at the bar and some guy walks up and the bartender's like, "What do you have?" He goes, "Well, obviously, was it the mac and cheese, the grilled cheese, whatever it was?" But it's just like, that's how he answered. It was like, "Well, obviously."
Right. Sure, obvious. I mean, for me, everything is obvious.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a killer guy in our kitchen who I love that he'll like come out and be like, "Hey, try this." The entire staff is teetering on like lying to him constantly because if we lie, he gives us more. And then do we
adjusted a little bit.
Do we lie and then we go, the first one was the better one?
Yeah. Well, I think
everything.
that.
Yeah, everything he makes is great. And it's a lot of what he's making has some conscious thought of how does this pair with beer. And that's always what we're kind of thinking. And it's really cool because he doesn't really drink a ton of beer. So it's cool that he embraces what we are about, even though maybe he's not embracing it
and he's
for himself.
And he's able to kind of match those things without being a beer person.
Yeah. Certainly a whiskey person, though. Which we are, I mean, not to shout out an event for Beer Week, but we're doing, at Varga, we're doing one event with Lou Bryson and John Hall.
Cool.
And it's a, how do beer and whiskey pair and collaborate with each other? So we're doing some Boilermaker kind of what would be the beer, what would be the whiskey. We're doing some which ones would go well, small bites and food. So like our chef gets to kind of jump in, which is kind of what I think Philly Beer Week is about. It's always about some sort of a collaboration, whether it be breweries in the same bar under one guise or a brewery making a beer for a specific event. We brewed Varga and Lucky's Last Chance brewed a beer today at New Ridge Brewing because we were like, we should probably hang out.
Yeah, Lucky's Last Chance, another great beer bar in the city. They're kind of like the same
Awesome.
type of bar that you are guys, I would say.
Our only stipulation between us was this beer better pair with burgers, dogs, wings, tater tots. Like, so we brewed a Mexican lager. It's gonna have some lime, some citrus,
Nice.
some lemon lime. Like,
So we just
something
had
lighter.
what is this? It was it last episode? We had
That's what you had this episode.
No, the Love City Lime Lager.
Oh,
So
dude,
it's,
yeah,
it's
that's
lime
so good.
lager season
Yep.
now, Mexican lager season.
Yep.
So very hot, very popular. It goes very well with
I mean,
burgers.
the cool thing about Philly is Love City just had their 6th anniversary.
Yeah, 6th anniversary.
And we just tapped the Harmonic Pills that they brewed for their 6th anniversary. It's like really cool that they're across,
Great beer, by the way.
Yeah, they're over here doing their thing, and then they go, "Hey, would you like some of what we made for our big party?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, I'd love some of that." So we tap ours.
You guys have it on tap, or
Yeah,
you guys
right
have it
now, yeah.
on the bottles? Because you guys do sell the big bottles.
Most of our big bottles, cans. I mean, cans we kind of do whatever, but big bottles we usually pick something big sour, big stout.
Yeah.
Something that's gonna sit, something that can age well.
Yeah, Pilsner's a little bit different.
yeah.
And even Kevin was like, "Yeah, we want to sell most of the bottles behind the bar anyway."
And they should.
Yeah.
And those guys crush it. Those
Yeah.
guys, again, talk about like a local brewery that's
Doing
really
things
cool
right.
to be a part of and get to like tap their beer.
Yeah.
Those guys are killing it. Which so it's funny. I'm at New Ridge today brewing beer, and Chris and Eric used to work at Iron Hill. Kevin used to work at Iron Hill. There's a lot of people who used to work. Like, you talk about a brewing tree. We always talk about coaching trees in sports.
Yeah.
I'd love to see someone make this a brewery tree of where it started, and I'm pretty sure a lot of it's going to be Iron Hill.
Literally the last episode. I feel like we're just having the same conversation. We just talked about Lou Bryson for the first time in the last episode.
Heyo.
You brought up Lou Bryson, and we just talked about like the brewery trees with like.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, it's like people like kind of coming in the same vein, like of like hitting these things, like Tired Hands, like kind of falling apart, not falling apart, but like a lot of people are leaving there, and you're seeing a lot of places. I'm from Victory, so like I know a lot of there's a lot of
copy.
people, that are kind of coming from other breweries, and like you're seeing people. There's like 4 or 5 breweries in the area that are putting out a lot of breweries that are now brewery owners.
It's got to be. I don't know what their feelings are, but
Yeah.
it's got to be a feeling when you're. But it's got to be really cool to see the people you've trained become really good at the thing that you've trained them
Definitely.
for. It also must stink a little bit because you're like, we kind of did train you to do it. Those really cool things for us.
But a rising tide raises all ships, and it's just like it's not like
Exactly.
these people are coming like leaving and like talking shit or anything. It's
No.
like they're like part of their sale is about how great the brewery that they came from was. So that like
Yeah.
I'm good at brewing because like they were good at brewing. So
How do you think I learned it? I
yeah,
didn't make it.
exactly.
I don't know if this will ever make this, but I almost got expelled from college because of my philosophy class. And I thought it was awesome. I liked philosophy because it's all about like hypothetical and this, that.
Yeah,
and the other
philosophy
thing.
is just whatever. How do you?
So here's the thing. We get an assignment. I write a paper. I cite almost every sentence because I'm not a philosophy guy. I'm not a philosopher. Most of what I came up with was because of what my professor had spoken about or something I read. But I left like, I don't know, a paragraph of stuff. And then she cited me for plagiarism on the paragraph I didn't cite.
Oh my god.
And I was like, my winning argument was, the only thing I'll ask is, can I see someone in our class that came up with a brand new philosophy and didn't cite every single sentence?
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with anything, but it's the same thing with like some of these breweries where it's like they can kind of get a little upset that maybe some of these guys moved on, but also like hold your head high. You are the one that they're mimicking. I mean, like,
that's part of the culture. It's a small business culture. Like you're the idea that whatever you're gonna make is then you're just gonna hire these people and they're gonna stay with you forever is unrealistic.
I never like seeing a lateral move with an employee. I love seeing employees take. We had a server work for us. It was part-time here, part-time at Bach Bar.
Yeah.
Or another part-time here, part-time at another bar.
Yeah.
He got a promotion at the other bar.
Yeah.
Fantastic. He came to us and said, "Hey, these guys are promoting me," and it's like, great.
Yeah, but they didn't leave you and then just go to the same position somewhere
great
else.
for you. This stinks for us. Great for you. We hired some other people. They're also very good, but it stinks when someone's like, "I'm taking the exact same job and I'm working somewhere else." When these guys leave these breweries and they're like, "I'm opening my own brewery,"
Yeah.
it's got to be somewhat like a little feel in the heart. That like they're killing it because you taught them how to do what they're trying to do. I'd imagine that's how I feel. I don't know.
I left Victory 6 months ago, November, and like it was a lot of stress leaving, and I was scared that it was going to be like you're dead to us, but it was like we were so happy for you to leave, and it wasn't like anything
Wait,
that was.
in which way? They're so happy for you to leave, or they're so happy?
They're
for you?
you know what I'm saying? Like they were like
No,
happy to like,
yeah.
and they're like they're plugged into what I'm doing now. It's not like like you like we don't like you now because you left. It's just like, oh, that's really cool. Like I want to see what you're doing next.
So I think everything we've talked about in this kind of way is the reason that I love craft beer.
Yeah, it's the culture of it.
It's not the restaurant side of it for me. It's sure, I like love that side, the industry side, the service side, sure. It's the craft beer side that is so much camaraderie, so much build everyone up. I think maybe the layman doesn't understand the amount of collaboration and help that goes on behind the scenes at breweries. Mm-hmm. Just like, can I borrow some of this? Hey, I have this. Hey, we got extra of these malts. Hey, we got some of this hops. I don't think people understand that they might not be the best friends, but they are the best interacted like people. Like,
no, there's no gatekeeping. Like I haven't even started yet. I'm like asking these people like how to become your competition, and it's just
and they're like, here, this is what you should
and
do.
By the way,
this is what I would do if I were you.
And I can call you right now to like give you even more help than you're asking for. It's like, all right, like, I wasn't even asking for that, and just like but it's part of the culture. It's just like they want to kind of build everybody up into this.
I don't see and that's why it's so cool to be a part of the beer culture of Philadelphia. And I think that's what to circle back to Philly Loves Beer, I think that's what I'm trying to get everyone back to. Not that they ever disappeared, ever was forgotten. It was just the pandemic changed things, and I just want people in the industry, in the brewing industry, the restaurant, I want them to understand it's still here. It never left. Everyone's in different circles.
Yeah.
The circle is still there.
Yeah, but the same thing with like beer. It's not just Philly Loves Beer. Like Beer Fest in general have changed, and like they're still very successful ones. We were at Sly Fox this weekend.
Go
Go
races!
Races.
I saw you guys.
Log Jamming crushes it. There's like Beer Fest that are doing very successfully. It's just the scene has changed, and it's like everybody is trying to figure out, like how does this localized beer movement keep kind of moving forward?
I mean, just speaking about Log Jam in particular, that's going to be a global event.
Yeah.
If it isn't already on a lot of breweries' calendars, like that's just crushing it.
Yeah, it's awesome. It felt more like a Beer Fest used to feel like a party. And there was there was a time where there was just like people were going through the motion, and then like they kind of died down, and now Slive, like that was a party. Yeah. Log Jamming is a party.
Yeah.
It's like people want to go there and get excited. And I think
that's why
it's starting to come back a little bit.
I think it should be.
Yeah, and I think people are just kind of going through the motions. I think that now people are kind of figuring out, like what they like, and they're attacking those things.
I mean, like talking about putting out a little bit of money, a little bit away from an event. I think is a idea that isn't on people's forefront of their brain. When the pandemic hit, it was like, hey, I'm going to be a little more tight-pursed or
Yeah.
be a little more conscious of what I'm spending on. So a lot of these awesome beer events or food events I see that aren't necessarily like selling out, it's because people will still go. Like the end result is still good, but I don't think people are willing right now to be like, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
And I think maybe the landscape of some sort of beer dinners might change, or dinners with alcohol might change.
Yeah.
And maybe it's cyclical and it'll come back around to something. But I would say if anyone's listening, get your tickets to Log Jammin' right now. They're not going to be there. So like that's the one. Get them now. And do the VIP. Don't be a bitch. And I can't go every year. For the past, I mean, like I said, Varga's about to celebrate 15 years.
Yeah.
We've done a block party for that first Saturday every year. It's just weird that Human Robot would go against it.
Oh my
No, I'm
god.
just kidding. Yeah, two totally different things. I mean, like
Yeah.
everyone in beer is going to go to that, and we get a neighborhood. It's our neighborhood like kickoff kind of thing to Beer Week. It's always nice.
But I'm sure, like, you know, that's what you're saying. Like, people, the worldwide thing. Like, when you go there, like, it's not just like people from like out of town. It's like people from other countries, like other breweries are kind of coming in, and like because you guys are a prominent beer bar in the city, it's like even if they're not coming to your block party, like you are, they
We're
are.
close enough to Monks that we just get the buzz off of them.
Yeah, yeah,
Monks is awesome. Like, I mean, speaking of Monks in particular, like those, it for me, I own a bar in the city now that focuses on craft beer.
yeah.
I worked in it prior to owning it. I'm lucky enough to live in a city that someone like Monks exists.
Yes, this I was planning on asking. you this
They're the
before, sorry.
reason we get shit.
What is like what's kind of like you've been because you've been at Varga Bar so long, like your relationship with just like Monks or Tom Peters, like kind of taking inspiration or like
Oh,
getting,
100%
like,
inspiration. Not a personal friend of his or anything.
Yeah.
Love going there. Love seeing some of the stuff they do. Just went to the. They recently had Plan B in
Yeah.
town, and those guys were just talking about their beer. Had a bunch on, and it's. I wanted to go to them particularly because we're buying some of their beer for our Beer Week events.
Yeah,
And like, if I didn't meet them, I'm still buying it. But it's really cool that
you get to touch it. Like you get
the
to
clout
talk to
that
them.
he has brings people that I, even as a person who has been buying beer for I don't have access to some of these people that I get to because of him. And we would, you know, as a city, we get the chance to drink Russian River, Cantillon. I mean, like those things don't exist in a world that Tom Peters didn't do the legwork for all of us.
Yeah, I mean, like you were talking about, like Philly Beer Week brought all these things in, but a lot of that, like the groundwork was kind of laid by him, like already having these connections.
man.
People like Ken from Memphis, like having these connections. Like
Yeah.
they loved Philly. They were selling a lot of beer here, and then Philly Beer Week kind of just like was this like
And I'm
celebration
hoping,
of that.
yeah, I'm hoping everyone who works in beer bars understands that our job is easier because of these people before us who that's why I feel like I can't let Philly Loves Beer just kind of go by the wayside and Philly Beer Week.
No, it's part of the Philadelphia beer culture. It should be here.
I understand what we have and what we have because of other people, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here for it. The first Beer Week, it was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it was Bruce Nichols, R.I.P., Tom Peters, and
Who's Bruce Nichols?
I'm going to butcher this, but I feel like he was just a beer writer.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I don't want to say just a beer writer.
No,
he
I
was
got
a
you,
beer
yeah.
writer in the scene
Okay.
that was getting a lot of press for a lot of what was going on.
Yeah.
And Don Russell, Joe Sixpack, who everyone knew.
Yeah.
And Tom Peters. And that was how it started. Those gentlemen with other people decided there should be some sort of an organization that pushes craft beer.
Yeah.
And I think
Beyond
mainly,
just like the organic love for craft beer. Like
yeah,
there
I
needs to be
feel
this
like they
overarching-
probably realized, holy shit, we got a lot of really good craft beer in Philly that no one else gets.
Yeah.
And it's partially because of them we get these beers. And then, the organization became bigger, and, kept growing and whatnot. And like I said, got hit by the pandemic. But I think the main point at the beginning of it, and I don't want to speak for any of these guys, but it was, we love craft beer. We should push craft beer. There's a lot of people who want to drink craft beer. let's all drink craft beer.
Yeah.
Like, let's drink it in fun ways. Let's drink it in weird ways, like different events, different things going on. Like, why aren't we doing more?
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get back to that soon, where it's,
So what are the type of, can you speak on that? Like the type of, I don't know if you guys are like doing some release of the types of events. Like have the types of events changed?
I will say this.
Yeah.
Philly Loves Beer has a website, phillylovesbeer.com.
Yep.
There's going to be a calendar of events.
Okay.
And as places submit events, we post,
Cool.
as long as it's a legitimate event. We get like, if you go to the website, it says submit event. Yeah, we get
Some BS.
we get a lot of people submitting events.
Come to happy hour this Thursday.
Well, no, I mean just like it'd be a random person like come to my house and drink beers with me. Like anyone can submit an event,
God.
but not every event who's submitted gets posted. So,
We just eliminated half of them, maybe.
but don't not submit event. I mean, funny ones are good for me. Maybe I put one on the website. The only thing you have to do to get a legitimate event on the calendar of events, you have to agree to our code of conduct.
Okay.
I've been in this like process of saying we a lot. When it wasn't that I didn't want people to know it was just me. I just knew that they thought it was a group of people. So I got into the us and we thing. The code of conduct exists for a reason. And it's because me, want to make sure you're not an asshole to employees, customers. You don't let anyone act like an asshole.
Yeah, and I mean,
There's
craft
a
beer
reason.
went through the reckoning 2 years ago.
The correct reckoning. And we just want to make sure.
Like immediately, you guys kind of stepped up. I mean, that was in the height of it, and you guys stepped up immediately and wrote that code of conduct. Right? It was.
I will say this. It was something that should have been there.
Yeah.
And it was very enlightening to realize we didn't have one, and then we came up with one that explicitly said what we were thinking. So,
yeah, and if you don't have one,
Right.
I know like Melissa's worked with like Brewers of Pennsylvania. Like there's resources out there you can put it together. I'm sure they can look at yours.
It should be something people know.
I mean, it should be
and
standard.
do.
Like you should just act like this. But yes,
We have something now where it says, and the only thing I ask anyone is click on that button that says you read it and you agree to it and you will follow it.
yeah,
Outside of that, do whatever you want. Involve craft beer in any way, what shape or form, as long as it doesn't infringe upon anyone's, beliefs, rights, whatever, everything that we should as a human. And I sent an email out to everyone who I usually host a meeting.
Yeah.
There was a meeting that was hosted every year, and it was a big event. And it was like, when it first started, I would like take off work. I'd like dress up. Like, I'm going to go get drunk in a nice shirt. There was one at like Heritage, RIP Heritage. There was one at like the casino. And I was like, you sons of bitches, you brought us to a place we can't walk out of. But I've been hosting it the past couple of years at Varga, and the whole point of it is just get everyone, as many people as I can in a room, just to be like, yo, we're cool. Do whatever you want.
We're on the same page here.
Like, here's what I think, which every year my thoughts are, include other things other than craft beer, art, food.
It's a celebration of craft beer, and craft beer has all these other components that are like subsidiaries.
Just life has
to it.
tangents.
Yeah.
So include them and include craft beer.
Yeah. So what do you think? I mean, you're seeing from the bar side, from Philly Loves Beer. Like, how do you think of like beer events have changed over the years? Like beer dinners, beer just tap takeovers. Like, what have you seen?
So I mean, for years,
Yeah.
and this is like 8 years, we've been talking about tap takeovers.
Yeah.
And back in the day, that was cool because you didn't have access to 8 Trogs beers.
For sure.
I love Trogs.
Yeah.
But, back in the day, you didn't have access to 8. We have access to like 20 Trogs beers.
Yeah.
So putting like 8 on, and that's it. That's awesome. You get to drink great beer, but that's a very difficult sell to someone who also can walk to their beer shop.
Yeah, I mean,
and get those
craft
8
beers
beers.
evolved, but the supply chain of craft beers evolved also. So like those things that used to be exclusive just aren't as exclusive anymore.
I mean, we have when I plan events, it's like, what are we doing? One of two things: limited can't be accessible beers,
Yeah.
a group of beers that aren't on tap ever together?
Yeah.
Or are we just doing something fun?
Yeah.
We just having a riot with some beers that we really like and people we really like. Those are kind of the three that go through my head. And that's not everyone. That's just me. So, like, we have an event that we have done for the past couple of years that we put on old horse races. So we know the outcome. It's
Maybe
just
not everybody.
It's just it's not big events. It's just random events.
Yeah.
And we have them, and everyone gets like a betting sheet.
Oh my god.
And you might buy a betting sheet for $1. All that money goes to charity. And if you win, then you get prizes from the brewery.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's wild. And like one dude dresses up like a horse, one dude dresses like a jockey. I'm on the microphone, like I'm calling horse races. And it's usually like, and that horse is coming down the stretch. So like Kentucky Derby just happened. And
Great
it's like,
Kentucky Derby, by the way.
man. But I'm like, that's how you call a horse race? I'm just screaming a bunch of random stuff and like hoping. But those are the fun events. Like there's fun events that can bring people in and they just like craft beer. And they might like those breweries. We're doing it with Dewey and Harpoon. They're homies that we have on tap and in cans and like that. They're great. Local brewery-ish in Dewey in Delaware. Local rep from Harpoon who lives in Port Richmond.
Yeah.
So like I consider them local because that's where I hang out with those guys.
Yeah.
And like they're just out and about. I see them at other bars. We also have one event where we do it's a working title, but it's funky, sours, wild, and fucking weird beers. I think we're gonna go with unusual, but
I like that one. Keep that.
yeah,
one.
I mean. But we're going to drive away anyone who's under 21. That's the problem. I got to come out with a better name. But it gives us the chance. We have some beers that have pepper in them. We have some smoked beers that aren't usually the best or the most favorite of the people that come in. So it gives us a chance to kind of have some stuff we really like. And then we're doing an event with Lou Bryson and John Hall, and like they're the guys who are going to talk.
Beer celebrities, you know.
Yeah, like beer and whiskey celebrities that just like they're just going to talk, and I'm just there to listen. And they're like, "Thanks for thinking of us." And I'm like, "This is an event for me.
Yeah.
I'm hosting it, and we're going to have other people
I invite
there.
all these people here. So
I
want to
hear I'm going to be yelling questions out because I am about this. And then like one of our events is our block party that we're still waiting on the Philadelphia.
Is that the
city to
pinup
approve.
one that you guys do?
We always called it like the pints and pinups.
Yeah.
And
So Varga Bar, named after
Alberto Vargas.
Yeah. So pinup artist from one of the early 1900s.
Yeah, he started the whole
And
pinup movement.
the whole kind of scene in your.
So when we first opened,
Yeah.
the idea behind the bar was, so the previous owner always looked at the Varga girls as like all American girls. So we did all-American craft beer, all-American comfort food. The restaurant looks kind of like a little upscale diner-ish.
Yeah.
And we've kind of kept that going. We used to do a calendar every year with local girls, local artists, local local hair, makeup.
Yeah.
We're going to, at the end of this year, we're going to, well, maybe I'm unveiling it right now, but we're going to do instead of a calendar, we're going to do a deck of cards.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're going to do a charity event where we raise some money for whoever we raise money for. I don't want to put a name in there yet, but and like kind of have fun with it, and that's kind of where the idea from Varga came from.
Yeah. No, but it's cool. I mean, craft breweries, we talk about like you're hosting events, like you want to like stick to like who your brand is, but like also like at a bar level, you know, Varga Bar is like putting on an event that is almost like your branded event.
Yeah.
It's like almost acting as a brewery. It's very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think sometimes I might lose sight of who I am and who I want to be. So I'm like, I love these guys who are brewers. These are my homies. Like, let's drink some beers. Let's make some beer. And I'm like, man, let's do this. Yeah. Oh, also, I should think about cost and what we're doing over here. Sure. Yeah. We're in still. I already committed to it. So we're in. Last year, one of the coolest events we did. And we talk about like, you know, local breweries and how some of those brewers may leave and go somewhere else. I had been joking about an event, and it didn't happen until last year, but I wanted to do all the former brewers of Iron Hill. And it's because they're,
You don't have
like I
enough
said,
taps.
well, I said their tree is just incredible.
Yeah.
And like as a beer guy who supports all of them and still supports Iron Hill as well, like I kind of said it as a joke and for years and been kind of pushing, and then I actually kind of pushed for it last year. And then I had my friend Chris Lapierre, who works for Iron Hill, was interested in it. He's, oh, this is awesome. We should do this. And I was like, I have a mole who will do it for me. And he did a lot of the legwork of like reaching out to these brewers. And
I think, Iron Hill is obviously very successful. I think that would be very cool. I think people kind of see them as, the brew pub brewery, I guess, and they are still making great beer. I think it would help them, honestly, if they were like, look at all these breweries that just came from us. Yeah. And I think a lot of people don't realize.
I mean, you're
like
talking
the quality
true
of
to
beer.
style. They crush it.
Yeah, they win so many medals, and I think that'd be very cool. Like, just like brief overview, it would be like a kind of like, why are you like promoting people leaving? But I think like publicly, you're kind of like showing off, like, look at all these people we've created.
Well, for the longest time when I said it, I was joking. I was like, they're never going to do it because like, why would we promote these people that leave? And then there was a point where I never brought it to Iron Hill.
Yeah.
It was just like at some point they were like, oh, that's cool. Yeah, we should do that. And I was like, which was last year. I was like, what? I've been saying this for like 5 years. Like, you're not. And we were going to have one of the founders, Mark Edelson. He was going to guest bartend. And
he's the head of operations,
yeah,
right? Yeah.
And all the money that he brought in was going to go to charity.
Nice.
But in a great way, we were crushed for that event. And his role would have been service bar, which he was just giving beer, like, pouring beers for the people who were there. We had like 12 tickets of craft cocktails and beers. I'm like, you got to get out of here. Like, he didn't even step behind the bar. So we're like, figure out a number that we're all going to donate. That's what we would have donated. Like, we'll do it. And then we all donated money because it's like, that was the point. We were trying to raise money for charity. But like, we were so busy.
I mean, it's a good thing.
Which was a great thing. It was a phenomenal thing.
So great it didn't work. Yeah.
But what is it? The best laid plans of mice and men oft go awry.
Yeah.
It ended up great, but not how we wanted it.
I mean, there's so much to kind of like unpack with like Philly loves beer, Philly Beer Week, and Varga Bar. I mean, like, what is your? I mean, you came here to promote Philly Beer Week. What is your like kind of closing sentiment of Philly Beer Week? What we can expect, and like kind of like what the future of Philly Beer Week is. I mean, I think it's something that has changed, but it's something that everybody in Philly loves, and it's part of the craft beer culture, and people want it to be here. So like,
it is here, whether they like it or not.
I mean, it is here.
It's
I don't want to say it's not here. It's like,
no, I get
what
you.
I'm saying is like it's something that people wanted it to be like the prominent thing in Philadelphia.
So
almost.
Philly loves beer.
Yeah.
Is year round.
Yep.
And that's, I mean, and it's not because this organization is Philly Loves Beer. It's Philly Loves Beer.
Yeah.
That is what it is.
Yeah.
They nailed it with the name. Whoever came up with it nailed it. Philly Loves Beer. Philly Beer Week is always going to be the Friday starting after Memorial Day, and it's going to be 10 days running, so it's 2 weekends. And there are going to be a ton of events. If you don't see events on our website, you reach out to your local breweries and your local bars and ask them why they're not on that website.
Yeah.
There's so much good beer. There's so many good events. There's so many good people who are running all sorts of great places. They should want to be involved because we're better as a unit and then singular. The camaraderie of the city, that's what it's about. Everyone seeing how good we are together is what it's about. We have, like I said, we talked about it. We have great beer from all over the world coming here. That doesn't happen every city. We are lucky.
Now we get spoiled.
We are spoiled and lucky to see what we see. And that's not a knock on anywhere or telling people you should feel a certain way. This is really cool where we live. We get a ton of great beer, and you should see what you could drink all year. Philly Beer Week, this is where we shine. This is where people get to step out, do a little something different, have an event, have things on draft that don't normally come together. We have
Peacock a little bit.
We have a couple sours on draft every once. We have 2 or 3 on at all times.
Yeah.
on our Thursday sour event, we have 12. And we get to, I like to look through lists and see what I got and peacock a little bit about what we get on that draft list. And, you know, it's, we live in a great city. We live in a great area. We have so many good people working at breweries and bars, and this is just the time to shine. You know, Philly Beer Week is what it is. And moving forward, it's just we're getting back there. Like I've mentioned kind of how we're in a little bit of a rebuild.
I think the pandemic kind of flipped everyone's head, but and I think beer festivals have kind of gone crazy, but I think it feels like the energy that I'm feeling kind of in the industry is things are coming back, and the energy of craft beers, whatever was happening the last 3 years of stagnation is just things are moving in the right direction.
I think people were concerned about whatever, you know, and now we're getting back to it.
Yeah.
We're getting there.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
There's a ton of great things that are going to be happening all year. All year. Everyone should be looking at their craft beer bars, their breweries. I mean,
Yeah, but Philly Beer Week's a culmination of all that.
Correct.
They come together and let's celebrate this.
Yes.
Cool. I guess so. We can follow Philly Beer Week on social media. Go to phillylovesbeer.com.
Heyo.
Varga Bar. Go check out Varga Bar.
Yeah.
And and you can follow us at BrewedAt at the BrewedAt podcast.
Yeah, make sure you follow them.
Yes. Clip it. All right. Cool. And we'll see you guys in 2 weeks.